Hello, my name is Dia Versailles, and this is the Path of Least Resistance, episode 28. We're going to be doing the 6.5 star weekly for the week of September 16th, 2024. So, because of the special rules, which are duplicate, the foe copies the first card they play each turn, and the scout scheme, which is round start, the foe plants 15 poison Puffcaps in the player's deck. We're on a strict timer here, and we're going to be taking unavoidable damage. And that means that, in my opinion, there are only 3 champions that you can really use to get through this. And in my opinion, that's going to be Gwen. And if you take Gwen, you're going to want Elemental Winds. And I honestly don't know if she's fast enough without her 6-star. And you have Morgana, who has Lifesteal inherent, and this is what I chose to use. And your other option is, of course, Aurelion Sol. I thought Bard has a potential to be okay because he can roll into Lifesteal pretty well, but I think he'll just lose before he ever gets started. Heal Soul is kind of dependent on drawing cards, which means that every time you use his champion spell, you're just going to die. So I think he's kind of out. Evelyn might be possible. Evelyn's really good at stunning entire boards, but I don't know that you can draw into Lifesteal for her. If you pick up a secondary champion like Aphelios, where you can guarantee Lifesteal, then that is an option. Okay, so I kind of cheated here because the whole point of the series is that you're using a 3-star with no epics, and for Relics I'm using the Grand General's Counterplan. This is required. I'm using Chemtech Duplicator, also required, and I'm using Packed Powder. This was honestly just a mistake. I kind of forgot it was epic and kind of forgot it was on. Instead, you could use something like Bounty Hunter's Renown, which starts with a T, and honestly would give you more +1/+1 most of the time than Packed Powder is giving you. The Plunder cost 2 less almost never is actually happening. We're not using it for that reason, we're just using it to scale our Lifesteal. So you could do that instead. You could also probably use, like, if you had the Epic Strength of Stone, which would give you +2/+0 formidable, and when you summon an ally, grant it +0/+1. So basically, we're just trying to scale up Lifesteal is the whole point here. So anything that does that is fine. Bounty Hunter's Renown, great. And then here, I do have a 4-star, which is Spell Slinger. Your spells cost 1 less. This is pretty significant, I'm going to be honest. The boards are so wide that we, even with this, kind of run into mana problems. And we have the Star of Bounty for +10 Nexus Health, +100 gold. This never matters during the run. I already did it pre-recorded, so we're just going to talk over it in a second. But I want to go over this information first. And the Star of Legends is your support champions have Focusing Crystal. You can only get this after you pick up the 4-star. This is honestly how we win all of our games. So without these pieces, it's going to be a lot harder, but I still think if you have a limited amount of champions, that Morgana is going to be your go-to. Or use one of the, if you have a 6-star, use a 6-star. I hear Swain and Viego can basically get through everything. So, you could try that out. I don't have either of those at 6-star. And of course, your fallback is Aurelion Sol. I don't think you can use Yasuo here. You're just on too much of a time crunch for that to really be effective. Anyway, with all that said, we can get into the run. Also, to be clear, this is going to be a very long run, so, watch the parts that are interesting to you and don't watch the rest. Let's get started. Again, we picked Morgana because she's the only thing with inherent Lifesteal, and we're going to be looking for power that is really strong with her, and so we find Perfected Mana Flow, and this is kind of the second cheat here. Without Perfected Mana Flow, it's not as good. We make use of every single point of mana in this run. It also puts Chemtech Duplicator so that it is active on round 3 instead of, I think, normally round 5. So yeah, that's something to consider as well when you're doing your runs. It's hard to say the correct option is roll into Chemtech Duplicator, but to finish this one, it might be. Or not Chemtech Duplicator, Perfected Mana Flow. So yeah, if you can do that, do that. I think it's incredibly significant. Yeah, once Morgana is out and rolling, she's basically unstoppable. So we're trying to get to that point as quickly as possible, and obviously having something like Perfected Mana Flow makes that happen a lot faster. This first fight, I don't know, isn't very scary really. But we can use Morgana. We're using her as a blocker to block on the edges to gain her health back. And then, like I said, as soon as she's online, you basically can't lose anymore at that point. You also have the ability to stall out games, which isn't super good into the Puffcap power. But eventually you can roll into, because her champion spell has Invoke, you can roll into Golden Sister, which lets you heal more. And so you're basically just trying to heal the full every round. And again, the scaling on Morgana with Packed Powder is, I mean, it's not bad for sure, but it's not required. So what your goal is to apply as many curses as possible to as many things as possible. Sometimes you run into problems where they don't have the hand space for your curse, and if that happens, you can't curse them. So that's a problem. I noticed towards the end of these runs that the AI was avoiding playing cards so that they wouldn't get cursed, which is weird. But yeah, that does happen. And once you start invoking with Chemtech Duplicator, you basically have infinite value. You can take things like Falling Comet to just straight remove units. You can take things like Cosmic Blessing, the one that gives everything +2/+2. You can roll into that just to make your Morgana have more damage so that you can lifesteal more. You can roll into the remove 2 units, obliterate 2 units spell. So yeah, you just have basically access to anything that you could possibly need. You want to kind of avoid playing things like the Messenger because it draws, and drawing will have you get Puffcaps. Also, when you see scenarios like this, you want to be conscious. Cosmic Inspiration, that's the card. When you see scenarios like this where your opponent has no mana, that's a great time to curse them because they can't play the curse. If they play the curse, that does happen at focus speed, I believe, which means that they're able to attack if they have mana. So they would play the curse to remove it and then attack with it. So as long as they have mana up, you have to be careful of that. Chemtech Duplicator does help by giving them 2 curses, which increases the curse cost to 6, which means it's very hard for your opponents to actually play those curses. And then when you attack with Morgana, she will curse the strongest enemy, I believe, that isn't cursed. And so if you have 2 things cursed, and I still don't know why this single combat played 3 times. It doesn't make any sense to me. They have duplicates, which play twice, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't even know what I was saying. That thing threw me off so bad. But yeah, so the goal is just to keep it so that they're unable to play their curses out. So applying more curse than you need to, and the curse is applied every time you target them. So applying more curses than you need to is really strong, and you want to do it a little bit preemptively if you can. Although with Morgana's Dark Binding, that is a stun, so you don't have to worry about that as much. So here we take Time Winder because it can target 2 units, and that's just applying 2 curses. And here I look at the mid-boss and end-boss. It's Aurelion Sol and Ornn. And here I take Zoe. I take her primarily for Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and I want to save the rerolls for later. She also has, basically Sketcher has a low cost unit that we can use as a blocker. I spent a lot of time thinking there. My other choice was basically Scion Reborn. Being able to discard a card to remove a unit is pretty good, and we'd be able to do that twice with Chemtech Duplicator. But I decided to go with Zoe instead, which ends up being a really good idea for me. Like, the run is already pretty good because of perfected mana flow, and yeah, mostly because of perfected mana flow. So having Zoe on the board early though means that because she comes with Focusing Crystal from that Constellation, every time we play a spell, and we're playing just an absolute ton of spells, she's growing every round, and she has Elusive. Since we're playing a lot of different named cards because we're using Invoke, she also levels up, and as soon as she levels up, when we play the Golden Sister, we can give Lifesteal to all of our units. So all of those things kind of play in to make Zoe a really good pick. Yeah. And again, this is sort of reliant on you having that Focusing Crystal on support champs. So there I didn't use Time Winder, but I should have. I was thinking that I wanted to save it for the Sandstone Charger that comes out later, and I could have done that anyway. I thought 2 were going to come out, but they had full board anyway, so that was never a possibility. I just misplayed. Also here, we're looking at their hand space, and they either have 9 or 10 cards, so it might be impossible to apply more curses, basically. So what you kind of want to do is at like the beginning of rounds, especially where they have it, where they aren't able to play a card, if they have a full hand, or if they like, if you have space to give them a curse, you want to do that. So if they end up drawing anything later, they burn the card, and also you just get the curse on before they have a chance to draw a card and make it so that you can't apply any curse. So here, I believe they're at 9 cards, so we can apply 1 curse, but not 2. And that also means that we can't attack without, like, hitting the on-cursed unit, because on our attacks, it wouldn't actually do anything. So I decided to take Falling Comet there, so that we can remove the unit that isn't cursed. And again, we're taking full advantage of the fact that we have a ridiculous amount of mana. And also our spells cost 1 less. This is letting us level up in round 2 or 3. Yeah, round 3 generally. And that is really strong. Again, we have Pack Powder here, but we never make use of it other than to scale Morgana, which is important. But you can kind of, like I said, accomplish the same thing with Bounty Hunters Renown. Packed Powder isn't super important, but Perfected Mana Flow was. You might be okay with just like a normal mana flow. But yeah, maybe something with like Power Rift on Morgana. But hitting the duplication early levels her up, and it makes everything so much better. Applying double curses so that they can't attack units is really strong. And in places where we're not able to apply the curses, stuns are really good alternative. And here, because Zoe has Focusing Crystal, we're not worried about blocking because she'll just keep growing. And then I check for how many cards they have in hand, and if I'm able to apply a curse, I do apply a curse, basically. Some of the cards you pick up from Invoke are not good, but it is what it is. You have to take something. That's why also cards that allow you to discard are good, because your hand's going to be over full. And so discarding doesn't usually impact you negatively very much. Also, a lot of times I end up playing maybe more cards than I need to. Like I might have a winning situation already, and then I keep playing cards. That's just because I'm not doing the math. If I play Golden Sister there, I probably could have waited until I played 10 unique cards to get Zoe's level up and take advantage of that. And also just playing cards in general gives Zoe more power, which helps us end games. So sometimes I'm playing cards for that reason. Also, you just generally have to be cognizant of your hand space, so sometimes you need to play a unit before you can invoke.
Truth binds you. I see you.
And getting more copies of the Golden Sister is of course great. And we're fine sacrificing the Silver Sister. So we're definitely going to win on the next round, so we're not really worried about anything. We just, need to be sure to attack, basically, with everything so that we get that Lifesteal. Order doesn't matter when you're attacking with Lifesteal, even if you destroy the opponent's Nexus. Before the Lifesteal unit hits, you're still going to get the healing effect from it. But yeah, so the downsides are the games are very long. And I do have to think a lot about what I'm doing. So they're slower paced than how fast I would normally go. Like there, I'm deciding between Shield Bolt and Harsh Winds. I end up going with Harsh Winds because it can target 2 units instead of 1, and also Frostbite has a different effect than Stun. So sometimes you can use it to play around things that Stun wouldn't otherwise allow you to play around. Here I'm keeping a 1-cost unit so that I can play Shield Vault on it. That'll let the curse train get started, basically. In this fight I found to be somewhat unfair. They are able to play 3-cost units for 0 for some reason.
All unbelievers will see the light.
And apparently they started with all of them in hand. It's important to attack when you can, so we have elusive here and they don't. Sometimes I forget that when I'm trying to live. It's just that I can also be offensive. So here I'm definitely planning on taking some damage. We do have Hush in hand, so that'll let us remove one of the units. But there's no way we can make enough blockers for a full board. And also they just open attack. I think about sacrificing Zoe here, but I decide not to, which is a good decision. Don't sacrifice Zoe if you don't have to, especially with the Focus Crystal. She's just going to get stronger and stronger. There's no reason to get rid of her.
You cannot break a shattered soul. Welcome, anguish.
I haven't really been picky about my targets for curses, because ultimately my goal is to target everything. But here, since that unit killed something, I knew it was going to turn into the next highest Cithria, so we wanted to be sure to curse it so that it wouldn't have that opportunity. And then I'm just applying extra curses on it so that Cithria can never attack. I'm not worried about the next round. As soon as Morgana's in play, I'm feeling pretty good.
I need to believe that one day things will be okay.
Nothing lasts forever, child. Not even pain. Welcome, anguish.
On your invokes, you can take Living Legend. If you do end up with enough mana to play it, you'll get to play a bunch of other Celestial cards, which can be fun. And then, like, zero cost units are obviously always good, because they give you the opportunity to have something to block with. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. But here I'm trying to figure out the best way to attack and whether I want to preserve my snake to block for later. And there, I'm too scared to commit to an attack without stunning the 8/8 first. I think Morgana wasn't leveled up yet, and so when I attacked it, wasn't gonna curse the strongest unit. Like I said in the beginning, we are very much abusing every point of mana we have. I'm okay with Morgana taking damage, as long as we don't kill her, it's fine. The only thing we have to be worried about here is something like single combat. I'm not sure if Cithria's deck even has it, but that's the kind of thing we would be worried about. And when your opponents play a card, you want to respond to that with curses. So they on-curse a unit, so we recurse it.
Be still.
And where we have the opportunity to take the Golden Sister, we usually do for the Lifesteal, just to make up for all of the orbs that we end up getting hit with. Or Puffcaps, I guess.
Light of my star warms the heavens.
Here, I didn't think about Zoe's level up power, and I play Golden Sister one round too early. Or one card too early, I guess.
Wheel turns. Day becomes night.
If you play Golden Sister as your 10th card, it will apply the Lifesteal to everything. She'll level up before it hits the board.
Riddle me something cool.
Again, you can see here just how large our Zoe is growing. And because she has elusive, she's really good at letting us hit the Nexus. And I see another copy of Golden Sister, so I take it so that I can apply the
Truth binds you.
Lifesteal to everything. We're missing so many hit points right here already. I think we're 31 down. And we have more mana than they do, so we're not worried about anything they play. We can always recurse.
Daylight star will rule the
You also have
skies.
Presence Shrink in hand. And again, your attack order does not matter for lifesteal. You'll lifesteal before the game ends regardless. It actually works the opposite way for taking damage. If you end the game before you take the damage, it doesn't count. So it's been coded in a way that's just purely beneficial for you. For the battle reward here, I do take High Toss because it turns into 2 targeted spells, and we're just looking for spells that target to trigger more curses. I skipped the flexible game plan here because I have plenty of cards already. We're never worried about like the amount of cards that we have, so yeah. And we get rid of Startled Stomper because it's the worst card in the deck, and we go into Ornn. I also don't re-roll for a power because we have, after Ornn, we get 3 power choices. So obviously that's better. Versus getting 1 power re-roll at a shop. I keep Zoe here, the extra copy, just so we have another stun in hand. So Ornn's whole thing is he has a wide board, he can get single units to extremely high values, and then a bunch of his other units to slightly lower values. He also starts with so many cards in hand that he burns a card on his draw. So that's kind of absurd, but it is what it is. Here I think about attacking, but Ornn has so many cards in hand, I assume he's just going to play them all. He has Time and Dedication in hand, but chooses not to play it. I think the AI might not know that it is discounted, so it doesn't know to play it on 0 mana. And I end up passing a turn that I don't need to pass because of that. It would have been better to play like a spell or at least get an attack in. And here we get attacked with a fairly wide board. We're only able to stop one of it. And I choose to sacrifice Zoe because I have second one in hand. And our Zoe hasn't really gone to anything. And I'm just trying to keep damage down because the Puffcaps could be lethal. And again, we're just loving how much mana we have. It's so critical. I decide to obliterate a unit with the equipment because it will obliterate the equipment. And then it can't be reapplied, so it doesn't get advantage from being forged. And whenever they're out of mana, it's just a really good time to start cursing. Because you know exactly what will happen. I tend towards taking Cosmic Inspiration if I feel like I'm going to be safe for the next round, because that just means we can lifesteal more or end the game faster.
I call this Constellations, Jump Shift time!
With Harsh Winds and 3 stunts in hand, I'm feeling pretty good. Nothing should ever be able to hit us that way. And we're constantly checking hand space just to make sure that when we do curse that it lands. Here I use Hush, which doesn't curse the enemy, but it does make it so that they lose all their bonuses, which makes it so that we can block. I let a unit strength for 8, which I wasn't planning on doing. I just didn't think about it, so Ornn levels up. It shouldn't ever matter because Ornn should stay cursed the whole time, but still better not to if you can avoid it. Because if you can make one mistake, you can make multiples. And then we're fine to win the game here, we just don't have quite enough damage to do so. But since it's a mini boss, we don't need to worry about preserving our health. But you can see that we've been chunked down. We drew 8 Puffcaps on that round. So I'm not trying to extend this fight. I see that I don't have enough damage to win the game, so I play down another unit. I believe it's still not enough damage to win the game. But because of Focusing Crystal, all that means that I need to play 2 more spells, because with the Chemtech Duplicator, it'll happen 4 times, which will be enough damage to finish off.
Do not look away.
And here basically I'm checking to see if my curse will land on the remaining unit, and it doesn't because he's out of hand space. I decide to stun him instead.
Embrace this ephemeral triumph.
And for power, I do decide to take Farsight Alteration. Shadow Totem would probably be like equally useful. We're not really having problems drawing into Morgana, but I don't know, Farsight is just always safety. And we get offered Hold It, so we take it. We can't really turn down stuns. Here we have the choice between taking 2 damage on our units every round and not doing that. So we take the way where we don't do that. I don't think I could outscale taking 2 damage every round, and then our opponent's board would just destroy us. So there's no reason to risk it.
Bless the faithful and sear the heretics.
Trickster never loses because Zoe makes the
And here I'm just playing units to build up a board. And as soon as they fall under 3 mana, of course we do want to put curses on. Curse does 2 damage at the end of the round, so if you target something that has 2 or less hit points, it will kill it at the end of the round, which is good for us. Although, with the amount of cards that these opponents start with, usually they have more than enough to replace their board. Also, they have plenty of mana. And all of their cards are discounted, so, you know. Yeah, hit with even more. I think that scares me a little bit. But we do have harsh winds in hand, which means that for whatever challenges us, we're going to be able to stop that. And here I decide to use the Pastry Toss, Pie Toss version 2 on something that'll die.
No mercy for heretics.
I don't know if that frostbite was actually like ideal. Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird block. I think I would have rather blocked the 3-2 unit with scout there and then not gotten hit. But yeah, I don't know why I chose to do it that way. Maybe I wanted to keep my soldier alive. I have no idea. It's always fun when you can't figure out what you were thinking.
I have found such beauty in mortality.
Hello, new best friend.
Welcome, anguish.
And here we are, of course, just invoking.
This burden.
I call this Constellations.
I take the snake. Equinox is also a good spell, especially on things where the unit's hit points are and attack are vastly more than their base. So silencing is just kind of a good power.
Welcome, anguish. You leave me no other choice.
I'm doing it anyway.
Also, once Zoe's leveled up, it doesn't matter if she stays on the board or not. Her effect to give all the keywords to everyone will remain.
Feel my pain. No!
We playing build rules, son?
Turn me to the sea.
Watch this.
Into the dark.
And here, of course, we are just playing cards. So many cards to play. I might try this run again without Perfected Mana Flow to see how it goes. I still do have Spellslinger, can't do anything about that. So I'm still going to have more mana than if we were to play 3-star Morgana. But it might be worth seeing how that looks. Again, though, I would suggest having Perfected Mana Flow, or if you have Aurelion Sol, let's use him. These fights have to end within a few rounds if you don't have any source of lifesteal. The other thing you could do is roll into Aphelios, or Shen would have Spirit's Refuge, and if you have a way to scale there, it would be pretty good. If you get Elemental Winds on Gwen, when she does her attack, it's gonna do 3 damage, or 2 damage extra on every hit. So that's another good way to do that. But I don't know if Gwen has the survivability. She does have the 3 summons every round, so that probably helps. But I'm not sure how that does against when the enemy has like 6 unit boards all the time. I'm also not sure how well she's able to attack into the really large units. But there are a lot of conditionals there.
Welcome, anguish. Our suffering was not in vain.
It is important for us to end every fight at full life. And here I take an extra Solari soldier. Idea is to get rid of him. Yeah. I don't see anything I like in the spells chest. So I look at the shop. That Blade's Edge is actually fine because it summons a unit. Also Blade's Edge gives a curse. We find sorcery, which is great. We oddly can use more mana, even though we have basically infinity mana. And here, I'm not worried about anything, so I take Frostcoat Cub, which is actually a really hard adventure. I'm not sure if it's harder than Mistwraith, though, and I wanted whatever was behind it, I think a champion item chest. Like I said at the beginning, these fights are very long. I'm actually not convinced here that cursing the Dark Hound would stop it from attacking. I think it would attack anyway. But, I mean, having the curse will do enough damage to kill him, so I'm not particularly concerned about that. And as always, we're just trying to curse as many things as possible. We want our opponent not to be able to use mana to do anything.
I have found such beauty and mortality.
Here I decided to play Morgana. We still have Dark Binding in hand, so we can deal with the extra attacker. We also have Hush, which is another way to deal with an attacker.
Welcome, anguish.
We haven't pulled Zoe yet, so we don't have our growth engine.
Into the dark. Feel my pain.
And here I silence the Puffcap pup, so that we don't end up with more Puffcaps. I also noticed that when we kill one unit, the opponent draws 4 cards, so theoretically we could deck them out by killing units. That doesn't end up happening, but I thought about it. It sounded pretty funny. I see Alpha Wildclaw get burnt there as a card, and so I realized that I need to save Harsh Winds, or if they try to do that to me.
Look what I can do.
And here we're dealing with our opponent's limited hand space. We can't apply as many curses as we want to.
Bear this burden. You leave me no other choice. Be still.
And we take Supernova there primarily to remove units, because there's too much hand space. So I feel like if I get rid of them, then it'll be better for me. And we use Crescent Strike just so we can get an attack in, otherwise we wouldn't be able to. The stuns don't add curses because your hand is full, but I mean they can't block if they're stunned anyway, so it still works out. We obliterate any unit with Overwhelm because we don't ever want to deal with Overwhelm. So, yeah. And then of course we still have another stun in hand for this guy. Present Strike is always a good pick. It adds curses and stun. And I believe I take Golden Sister just because we don't have too many sources of lifesteal yet. Here I take Moonglow, just to have another named card to play to level up Zoe. And I do end up wasting it on the Serpent. I should have put it on Zoe. I just wasn't really thinking about it from its effect, just that it had a name that I hadn't played before. But that was a mistake for sure. Especially knowing Alpha Wild Claw and Concerted Strike are in this deck. We level Zoe, and like I said earlier, the unit played that level Zoe will still give its keywords, even though it kind of happens at the same time. And here Wild Claws does come out, and this is what we saved Harsh Winds for. So we used it. I think I was considering just hushing it instead. Would have been effectively the same. And here we're trying to find enough damage to win the game this round. Just by playing more spells, using Focusing Crystal to make Zoe bigger.
Miss Moore, look what I can do.
It is a delight to watch you grow, Lisa.
And you can see how much value Chemtech Duplicator with Invoke is creating. We just never run out of good cards to play.
I rise.
We don't quite have enough damage to win, but, you know, we did our best. So on this round, when they play the Obedient Darkhound, we don't need to stun the Darkhound, we just need to stun anything else that might attack, and that will effectively make it so the Darkhound can't attack. So you'll see every time they play something, I'm responding by stunning it without having to worry about the Darkhound itself. And at this point, I'm kind of impressed by how many cards they can play in one round. Also, on the card text of Shackles, it does say the name of the card that it is shackling. And with the amount of curses we had out, we just win the game.
Embrace this ephemeral triumph.
Here we take Harsh Winds because we don't want Lisa and Dolly to be ephemeral, kind of defeats the whole purpose. And we obviously can't take Quick Strike Blade, so we do take Immortal. don't think it ever matters. I don't think Morgana ever dies. And here we get rid of the Solari Soldier that we picked up to get rid of specifically. And we go into Aurelion Sol. So this fight ends up being weird. Aurelion Sol doesn't play a lot of cards, even though, I mean, I'm sure he has plenty of cards to play. I consider myself somewhat of an Aurelion Sol expert, in the sense that I've fought him hundreds of times, and this just felt weird.
Wanna know about that one?
Moondreamer is an extremely common first round thing that he does. And I was waiting for him to play something just to start applying curses. Here I take the Charger, but Written from the Stars would have actually been better. I was avoiding it so that I didn't draw a card, but right now in the first round when there's only 15 Puffcaps out, probably would have been fine. Lee Sin is scary if he ever gets to attack. He does hit with Dragon's Rage because he comes leveled up. He does get stunned with Hold It, which we're totally happy with. Here I decide to just take 5 damage and hold Harsh Winds for something later. Taking 5 damage is not bad compared to like the 20 plus damage that later champions can do. Round 6 is one of the, or 6 mana gems is one of the scariest turns on Aurelion Sol, because Viego can come out, and if Viego comes out, he just kills your champion and you have no way to respond to it. In this deck, I'm not even sure we would be able to remove him with any sort of swiftness, so we couldn't just replay a champion. Here I'm looking for what I should do, because Aurelion Sol has basically a full hand, maybe actually a full hand. And I decide to play Spacey Sketcher as a waiting move. He responds with Cosmic Inspiration, which is duplicated, so all of his units are going to be huge. Which is fine. I respond immediately with a stun, so that he doesn't have an opportunity to like draw a card or do anything weird. I don't think he would have, but I don't know, it's just a good habit to be in. Sometimes like when a card is played, they get to draw a card or create a card. And if you're just not paying attention to that, it's easy to cast ahead of time, so you don't have to pay attention to that, I guess is the idea. I believe, if I'm smart here, I use Falling Comet. I decided I wasn't smart here. So I dropped Mahira just to add additional stacks of Curse. And here I'm using the pastries partially to level up, but also to increase the amount of curse and remove barrier from Lee Sin, so that he can take a little bit of extra damage. Because the Moondreamer is still up, we can't attack with everything, so I decided just to go with our Elusive Zoe. Galio is a bad 7-drop. I think Malphite is actually worse though. So as long as we can do damage before Galio attacks, then the rally doesn't matter. And because he has 9 cards in hand, I decided to Time Winder Galio first so Galio can't attack. And then, I don't know, I'll find a separate solution for the Fused Firebrand. We do still have 2 stuns in hand, and we have Harsh Wind. Now we have second Harsh Wind. Now I think for a long time about what I want to do. And I end up deciding to Falling Comet Galio so we don't have to worry about his rally future turn. Once Galio is gone, we don't have to worry about that ever again. he will never have 7 mana again. And I use Harsh Winds on the 2 things that, one of them that is challenging, and one that I am not planning on killing because I don't have 16 power. And then I decided to curse, I don't even know what that guy's called. Curse the guy that makes mana because we don't want him to make mana. So the 9th round is Forcibly Volibear, and I think 8th is Forcibly Tryndamere. So we know what's coming up next. Also, you'll notice he has a ton of cards in hand, it's just not playing. So I don't know what those cards are. You would expect like Moonlight Affliction, the 2 stun ability, I think Celestial Wonder. Too many things in this game have Celestial something. Might be that he has like units in hand that he doesn't want to play, but I'm not able to curse his whole board because he's not playing his cards. Falling Comet, the Moon Dreamer, not because it's the most dangerous threat, but because it's not cursed, and Tryndamere is stunned, so we don't need to remove him just yet. We'll need to remove him in a following round, but for now we're doing just fine. Killing one of their units does open up a space, and if I'm smart, that means I'll use a stun to add a curse. Yeah, and I do. As long as they're missing cards, we do want to fill it up with curses. It also helps them burn their card next round. So Volibear is one of the scariest things because he gives overwhelm to everything, and that includes Aurelion Sol. So yeah, if we can get rid of Volibear, that's always a goal. Opponent uses Celestial Impact on Mahira, and I have no idea why. Like that Zoe's just sitting there waiting. Maybe it's their base health that it's looking at. That's probably what it is, their base health and attack. And here we take, I think, the Immortal Fire because we have just a ton of mana. It has a lot of attack. And we're trying to close out the game next round. It also gives everything elusive, which is really nice. And Aurelion Sol hits the board. So this is the part of the game where I guess you should be scared, but everything has elusive and I attack. I really would expect Moonlight Affliction here. I'm not sure why it didn't come out. I don't know what all these cards are that he has. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, maybe he was afraid of getting cursed if he played something. I have no idea. And that is it. That is the run. So obviously we got really lucky with effective mana flow, and this is not a 3-star unit, or champion rather. So a little unfortunate, but I don't think there is a 3-star that can do this other than Morgana. Maybe Gwen, like I said. So I would use Morgana even at 3 stars to try to kind of replicate the same thing with effective mana flow. It would be a little slower than without, but I believe it should still be possible. I'll try it in another way, and if it's successful, I'll upload that video too. But yeah, and I'll probably do that one without commentary. These games are very long. And then for that, we get 20 Demacia gemstones. As always, we don't really care about gemstones because we need too many to do anything with. And that is the whole run. If you like what I'm doing, like and subscribe. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.